This is Soulcharge, the podcast for women leaders to take the highest level of ownership of their power to create results now. I'm your host, Stacy B. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another Soulcharge episode. I am joined today by the one, the only, Carrie J. Morgan with Carrie J. Morgan Coaching, and my dear friend at this point. I'm so excited to have her on the show today. She is one of our Soulcharge practitioners going through the standard, and I just feel honored and blessed to be able to welcome her. So welcome today to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Stacy, for having me. I am so grateful. I am so grateful for the mentorship, the coaching, the training, so much. We're going to talk about all of that. But I cannot believe I get to be here on this couch with you today, talking about the things that I didn't know about last year. Oh, amazing.
So it's so good.
Life-changing.
It is. So Carrie and I met, and it was so interesting. We met at a speaking event, and she came up to me and actually commented that she listened to the pod. And I, because I'm too much and direct and all the things that is Stacy B, I said, we're going to work together. I don't know how or what, but I've known you for 3 seconds, and I'd like to just put that out there. And here we are just a few months later, right?
Yes.
So it's so great. So we are going to dive into a topic today that I am excited about because Carrie has an incredible amount of experience. She has been working with leaders, companies, cultures. Like I get goosebumps every time I think about the immense experience that is Carrie J. Morgan. For decades, she has worked with companies to help them scale, to shift cultures. Do you want to talk about a little bit like your passion for that and how that started?
My goodness, I think that started, I think I came in with it.
Yeah.
I was born with it. I came in with a passion that if we treat people right in the workplace, they will rise to the occasion. And I am of an age where that was such a radical thought. It was like, you need to push people, you need to drive them. And to get results, you need to kind of threaten them a little bit, that they have all these things on the line if they don't perform. I mean, that's the era I grew up in, and the management approach that I experienced in workplaces. And so you weren't trusted, you weren't credible, you had to prove yourself. And so I always thought, boy, if you could see the brilliance in each person and give them a platform and let them shine, they're going to work your business for you. And probably because I was yearning for that myself. I was like, I have all this to offer, and yet you've got me in this tiny little box, performative box, and I could do so much more. So then I learned about organizational development and put the word culture to it, and leadership development, people development, all these things were coming online more and more leaders interested in that.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Do you feel like energetically there was a shift at some point in your career where it wasn't about so much like pushing and proving, but it was more about like elevating, encouraging, connecting?
I think there's a couple veins there. One is my own personal development and growth, and needing to prove and validate myself.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that didn't know what I was talking about. That would be like, what do you mean energy and empowerment? And, that was all such kind of foreign language to a lot of traditional business. But there was also my own development. So I could only go where I developed myself. So there were things that I tried to do that I hadn't yet developed myself enough to be able to carry that off.
Okay.
Because if I'm trying to validate and prove, but I'm telling you that I'm already valid, you see the disconnect.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. So yes, every decade, every 5 years or so, there would be a leap in leadership awareness and consciousness and openness and receptivity, and also just in my own personal development.
Yes.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. I do love that because it's kind of like if you're committed to always raising the bar, always pushing the ante up in the ante, it's like it's so cool to see how you're able to lead and guide your clients in their success to that same level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and if we first understand the theory of things, we first get it mentally before we embody and change it in how we internally operate with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So first we're talking the talk, but then we've got to deepen and walk the walk.
Yes.
And this is so Soulcharge.
Soulcharge, yes.
Yeah.
It is. And I think, like that's part of why I feel like we connected like two of the strongest magnets, in the
Yes.
stratosphere is like, external leadership principles so much. And it's like, and you also naturally embody the internal pieces, and you have this love for consciousness and making business better. That's your tagline,
Yes.
and that was one of the funniest things when we first met was I went to Carrie's website and it was like, I was looking almost at a version of something I would write is how I felt, where it was just like, you're saying similar or the same things about, if we can really bring an attention to what's going on internally and extract that so that there's this level of alignment in our leadership, things get easier and the path forward isn't as much force and proving and this like dissonant type energy. It is precise, it's intentional, and it is of a higher realm that sometimes, not to go super woo here, but like is otherworldly, right? Where it's like the opportunities just show up. And I think that's what I love is like business gets to be easy. And I don't mean that you don't work, but it's that you believe that opportunities are everywhere and you get to tap into that versus like force your way into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think with easy, we all like a little challenge, right? A little rub, a little edge. That keeps life interesting. I think the ease comes in, you create results that stick. You're not hitting the wall over and over and over again. That's dis-ease. That is exhaustion. And so, yes, I have a challenge and I have never confronted this challenge before. And how do we get the team, how do we do remote trainings and with like COVID and lockdowns? How do we do that?
Right.
Very challenging. And yet brilliance exploded and we created so many ways to address that we never thought were possible. So I think the disease and the difference is as a leader, if I keep hitting the same wall over and over again, and I don't know how to get around that. I know how to get around everything else in my life except that one, and that is exhausting me.
Yes. Which is such a perfect segue into the question I want to ask you around leadership authority. In your experience, what do you observe with leaders as far as how they abdicate their authority for the sake of being inclusive?
Yes. So we're kind of toddlers, maybe grade schoolers in this empowerment movement. This is pretty new to us. So we're not very experienced with it yet. So on one hand, we overcorrect. And we give too much almost, it's like, because I want to empower you. So I'm going to delegate all this to you. And I've trained leaders in this. It's like, you don't hand everything off first. You model. You demonstrate the standard. You demonstrate the bar. You show them. You model it for them. You walk it with them before you hand it off. So, but in our rush, people that understand the power of empowerment, right? The power of engaging their people and, being multipliers versus diminishers with brilliance of their people, we almost overcorrected from a disempowering model to overindulging, like giving your children no boundaries.
Yes.
And so we're figuring that out though. So I think there's that, and I think then there's also each individual's like, are you a people pleaser? What is what works on you? Do you can you stand your ground in what you know to be true? There's a journey right there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we're reflecting out. So there's two things. We're just learning, how do I empower? And when I was VP of Culture and Training for a national franchise, the culture was I was an advocate. I built a empowering culture that we made part of our operating manual, and it was in all of our training, to the detriment of leaving out some of the metrics, and the operational things. So I overcorrected. I was one of those people who's like, we don't do this. We don't address this. We need to add this in and make this whole. But I left out half of the whole, or too much of it.
Yeah.
In my passion to I overcorrected. So we're learning.
Yeah.
But also I think there's a hard look at, where are you the issue?
Yes.
Where, and I think there are a lot of founders, entrepreneurs, leaders that I work with are perfectionists, and they want to keep the baby safe.
Yeah.
And so they micromanage. And then all of a sudden when they learn to delegate, they overcorrect again, where they hand it off without keeping an eye on things. So there's all those things. Am I codependent in my leadership, where I'm a people pleaser? Am I overcorrecting? Have I handed it off too soon? Am I checking on things? Am I guiding? Am I mentoring my people?
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, looking at the types of leaders that we work with, where it's like they're the best of the best. They are, the top of their game. And a lot of times what I see, and I know we've talked about this with what you've seen too, is that there is almost an avoidance in stepping fully into their authority. Like, even though they're the leader, even though they're the one casting the vision, they're the one it's their business. There is still a hesitation to be seen at the level of expression that is their truth.
100%, especially for women.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're not used to being so visible.
Yes.
We don't know how to do it, or we're hesitant. Are people going to think I'm an egomaniac?
Right.
We're looking at all that old, what does it mean to be out there, be expressive, be seen, be powerful,
Yes.
be clear, be confident, and
yeah. And it's interesting because, the way out is very much through in this topic, where it's like, I think a lot of women leaders especially want there to be like a framework of tell me how to be visible, or like walk me through this. But what's interesting is that the decision to be yourself, I think it's like an elusive, it is like, can you please give me that manual, right? It's kind of like, that's great. I hear what you're saying, Stacy. I hear that you're saying be all of me. But it's like women and men too. It's interesting. The more men that we work with, like within Soulcharge, it's like men need this too. Like we can't leave them behind. But it is very much women, right? But it's like there is this interesting thing of tell me the how. Tell me how to do it. And my response to that is the decision is the how.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like, if you're going to be in your authority, you have to decide that is what you're doing without the manual. And I think it's interesting the amount of leaders that are performing at the levels that they're performing at that are playing small, but they're in a world that perceives them as big.
Yes.
And so it feels like they're playing big, but there's a whole nother level. There is an entirely different level that if they make this decision to be all of themselves, their team actually gets that same permission slip. Their team actually gets to see, to your point earlier, the model of what it looks like to be all of you. And guess what that does, like from a coherence standpoint within the organization?
It's so powerful. It's a new model. We've never had it before.
Yes.
And Soulcharge, when I started going through the training,
Yes.
I want to give an example.
I love it.
You were coaching me, working with me, and you said you see what you've created, but you don't see yourself inside your creation. You don't see yourself as part of that. Like that's like I was missing. I was like, I'm standing outside the circle of my creation going, oh, that's great. I'm glad I did that. But I'm not in it. And I'm not fully owning it. You were like, you don't fully see what you've done, and you're not owning it. And not from an egotistical way, but from an expression of my creativity.
Yes.
An expression of what I want to create and my vision. And I created that vision and made it real. And yet I'm still kind of pawning part of it off. Mm-hmm. And so that coaching, you helped me bring it in cellularly in a way that shifted, because all I knew before was the ego version of claiming something.
Yes.
And this was just like, I'm just claiming the full authentic expression of my creative force, my brilliance.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
And so Soulcharge gives us that. That ability, that little piece that we're holding out of ourself. It's like, it's almost like I got to 80%, but I am no longer, I'm dying on the vine now because nothing feeds me like it used to. Yes. I have all these awards, all these successes, this amazing CV that people would be so envious of. I'm talking about my clients now.
Yes.
And yet it doesn't fill me like it used to. Mm-hmm. Because if we're holding out that last piece of ourselves, that we are not fully letting ourselves become all of us, and Soulcharge gives us a way there.
Wow. How would you describe, I'd love to go into that 10%, like when you talk about it being like cellular, I love the language that you're using where it's like, what do you feel like when you didn't have that awareness, and then when you did have the awareness that you weren't inside your creation, what was happening to create that dissonance or disconnect where you weren't owning it?
I'm wired for service. I'm wired to assist, to help, to give, to, help others get somewhere, help an organization get somewhere. I'm wired for that.
Yes.
I've left myself out of that circle.
Wow.
That's the era I grew up in.
Yes.
It's like, and so now, without the story, without the history lesson, it's like now I get to jump in my own circle. I get to be one of, not apart from what I'm creating.
Wow. It's
Does that
so
make sense?
good. Yeah, because, I often will say on the podcast, it's like, I'm so passionate. Like why I'm on this planet is like to end the separation.
Yes.
And I think that is such a umbrella statement, but hearing the words you're using, like that's what you did there is you said, I have built my life separate from it on so many levels. And I put myself in the arena again. And what I didn't hear you say is I didn't hear you say that you spent months in a college classroom doing all of these frameworks. It was more of a opening and a decision to walk through. Yes, Soulcharge gives you the path, right? But talk to me a little bit about, like, was it a decision? Was it awareness? Like, what was the concoction that pushed you through?
Working in this process with you, it was automatic almost.
Wow.
It was opening a door and all of a sudden seeing myself in a hall of mirrors, like seeing parts of myself I hadn't seen before.
Wow.
Both where was the hitch
Yeah.
in my giddy up,
Yes.
right? Like where was I in my own way? And also, and then therefore what was my way opening to, right? And so it was within the one session.
Yes.
One session. Now, did it rattle me a little bit? Yeah, because I'm reordering everything, and yet everything got reordered almost automatically.
Yes.
There wasn't a big learning curve. There was just a letting it viscerally settle in my system
Yes.
and my awareness. So it is so fast.
This is why I
Lightning.
love this process. Yes, lightning bolt. That's why it's a part of the Soulcharge logo, right? It's like listening to you and I so appreciate the language you're using because it is practically able to be understood. And sometimes I feel like I'm an alien talking, but no, really though the process of what we are doing here, like what you experienced, is very much consciousness. When you are working with energy and you're working with awareness and truth, like there is that saying, the truth will always set you free.
Mm-hmm.
But there is like a physical experience that you are saying that you had when that truth is illuminated. Literally, its power loses its grip on you immediately and you can shift. When I hear you talk about what happened for you, when you were outside of your own creative success, outside of the success of your life, and you were like almost looking into a fishbowl is how I kind of remember us talking about it, is like in that moment, I didn't hear you say that you went through a long process to get inside your life.
No.
It was almost as if it was like I had a flashlight and I kind of came into your dark room. We shined a light on it together, like we kind of linked arms. We shined a light on it, but then that awareness like popped something and it allowed you to have the space to make a new decision. And it reminds me of the Viktor Frankl quote where he says, between stimulus and response lies our power to make a choice, lies our power to choose happiness. And I think that's what I feel you're saying here. What I hear you're saying is that if you think of what was causing disassociation or disconnect from your success and ultimately your joy, fulfillment.
Yes, fulfillment.
Is that there wasn't space between stimulus and response. It was just, we're on this cycle that's life and we don't have the moment to take a beat and go like, oh, there could be a different possibility.
Yeah.
Now, so I'd love to hear like from your perspective, was it awareness? Was it decision? Was it the concoction of it all?
It was epiphany. It was a pop.
Yes.
It was like it popped an old balloon, an old program.
Yes.
And it was like it goes, this no longer holds validity.
Wow.
And it just burst out of my way.
Wow.
And then I was like, I could see it almost like, what am I seeing? What is this? And yet this happened within minutes, of just like, oh, I get it. And I do want to give credit to our self-help era in the sense of we've primed the pump. We've done the homework. We've done our spiritual, mental, physical, nutritional, like we've done the homework for decades now.
Yes.
And so I think in that journey, I've learned to be a seeker, be curious, like what's next for me?
Yes.
What's next for me?
Yes.
And the leaders I work with are always like, what's next, right? They're just wired for that. And so to have it revealed, and you laid the groundwork in the process for me to have my own reveal in a way. you set it up for me to go, oh, and I see the barrier, and let's just move that aside like a curtain.
Yes.
And step through into the experience of where I want to be.
Wow. Are you loving Soulcharge? If so, hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share an episode. We want to bring powerful content to women leaders each week so that women can be unleashed to create the results that they want now. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.